Okay, so let's get started in planning out the dimensions for our first two cabinets we're going to build in this project. And the first one, just going to draw, like do a rough sketch. Again, getting in the habit of doing this, will be a frameless cabinet. It'll have a drawer front here, and it will have two doors here. So one door here on the left, one here on the right, and we'll make this either a slab door, so it'll be a solid door, or it will have, you know, one of these on it, a five-piece door, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can figure out if later on if we want to do these with either like a shaker or do we want to do these with like a raised panel or something. We can figure that out later. For this exercise right now, not terribly important. For this particular cabinet, I'm actually going to put it on a 2x4 frame for our toe kick. And I think we'll do the dimensions. We'll make it 30 inches, right? And then again, the height is 34.5 from here. And then front to back in this dimension, so like this, if we kind of look at this isometrically, it would be from here to the front to the back, 24 inches. And that's to, there's actually the door, like the side of the door be right there. That's to the edge of the box. That does not include the door. All right, so we have enough. We know what we're doing. Let's get started dimensioning this guy here. All right, so what you want to do is, I always do this like on paper first, especially if I'm going to do this for one or two cabinets. If we're going to do this for a whole kitchen set, then we'd use a program. But again, this is a great place to start, and then we can check our program settings with this example. So we'll call this, let's see if you can see this. This is our base cabinet. And we're going to come up with a list of parts we need. All right, I'm just going to go down here, and we'll do one. So we'll do sides. Okay, bottom, back. We'll have a part for stretchers. Okay, we're going to skip the drawer box for now. We're going to go back. We're going to have to do a whole lesson on drawers. So for now, we're just going to concern ourselves with the drawer. We'll call it the drawer front. That's the front part of the drawer, and that can either be 5 sides or one piece, as we did 5 pieces or one piece, as we just mentioned. And then we'll get into the door. So we'll have door styles, door rails, and let's see, a door panel, door center panel, C panel, and we'll do a shelf. All right, so what do we need to know? First thing, we'll do QTY for quantity for each of these, and again, we'll just number these 3, 5. So you can see why, like if you start doing a lot of this, doing this in a spreadsheet, this makes a lot of sense. Doing this here, not necessarily always. We'll do a quick thing for T for thickness for each of these parts. We'll do length, and we'll do width. Now these are more the critical parts we need to figure out. And to do that, we're going to kind of do this with a little bit of a drawing. All right, so just do the quantity real quick. There's 2 sides, there's one bottom, the one back. Stretchers, I do for this particular build, because it's not going to have a face frame. I'll do 2 on the top and 2 on the back, so we'll do 4 of those. It's going to have 1 drawer front. It's going to have 4 door styles, 2 per drawer, 2 per door, 4 door rails, 2 per door, 2 center panels, and we'll say 1 shelf. All right, the sides, okay, so that's this column. The sides thickness, this is going to be regular plywood, so 3/4 of an inch, and that's all for all this stuff, 3/4, bottom, back, stretchers, drawer front, door styles, door rails, shelf as well. Door center panel will probably do 1/2 inch. Okay, so those are thickness. All right, length and width. Now this is where we need to know how the cabinet is going to be built to figure this stuff out. I'm going to build this particular cabinet using pocket screws, principally pocket screws only. I will put a groove in for the back, for the back piece. Actually, in this back piece, I wanted to do this 1/4 inch. The back piece will actually sit in a groove, but it's a 1/4 inch wide groove, and anyone can do this on a table saw very easily. You don't need a dado stack, you just need 2 blades. So for the back, it's actually cheaper to do that. So that's the only groove I'm going to put in here. The rest is all pocket screws. This is going to be a very DIY friendly project to do. All right, so over here, I'll probably go back and forth between this. It may get a little jarring. Hopefully it doesn't get too busy going back and forth. But let's do the sides. All right, so the cabinet from the side, it's going to look like this, right? We're just going to have a toe kick right here, right? This would be a 2x4. And the sides and the doors will sit out here, okay, in the drawer front. That'll be all out here. This from here to here is 24. From here to here is 34.5. We said we lose the 3.5 here in the 2x4. So this becomes 31 inches. All right, so the side pieces, just by looking at the overall dimensions of the box, we can tell they're 24 wide, 31 long. Okay, so let's go back to here. Drawer sides, 31 and 24 inches. Okay, the bottom, we need to do a different view here. So we're going to look at it from the front. Okay, we're going to have our 2 sideboards coming right at us. We're going to have the bottom board right in the bottom there, and we're going to have our 2x4 kickstand there. This, again, we said this would be 30-inch cabinet. We're going to come in 3/4 of an inch here. We're going to come in 3/4 of an inch here. So we're going to lose 1.5 inches on this. So our bottom length is going to be 30 minus 1.5 inches. It's going to be 28.5 inches. Our width, we're actually going to have our backboard right here. And our bottom, again, will be right in this area here. Okay, it's probably not going to be right at the bottom. It's going to be up a hair or very close to it. So my back is going to be 1 inch in. All right, so my bottom board, then we says 28.5 inches long, and it's going to be 24 inches minus that inch, 23 inches wide. Okay, so length for the bottom is 28.5 and 23 inches. So this is a good exercise just to kind of follow at home, draw this out, maybe come up with your own dimensions, and then see if we get the same thing. The back 1/4 inch thick, and the back I said is going to run the whole length. So it's going to be the same length there. It's going to be 31 inches, and the width, it's actually going to go in a groove halfway into each of these. So we can say it's the same dimension in terms of width as the bottom. But it's a little bit longer. It's 3/8 of an inch longer each side. So you can add 3/4 inch to the bottom. So this is going to be 31 inches long and 28.5. All right, the stretchers. So the stretcher in this case, I'm going to have 2 that run from here right across the top of this. Right, so they're going to be the same width as the same length as the bottom. It's going to be that same, it's going to stretch across the top. And I'll have 1 back here, and I'll have 1 back here. So we'll have 2 in the bottom, just so you have the other view, 1 here, 1 there. They provide structural support. The back ones will provide something for the fasteners to go into the wall with. So we have 4 of those. I'm just going to make them 4 inches wide, and the length for these is going to be the same length as the bottom. All right, so they'll be 28.5. Okay, same length as that, and we'll just make them 4 inches wide. And we're going to pocket screw those together. All right, drawer front. Drawer front, if we looked at, well, if we just draw it on here, we'll draw another view here. The cabinet's, just a box when you're looking at it like that. There's your drawer front. We said this is a 30-inch cabinet, so that means the length of this drawer front, I'm making a mess. The length of this drawer front is 30 inches, and the width is whatever we want that to be. It's arbitrary, it's up to you. For this cabinet, I think I'm going to make it 8 inches. So this is 30 inches long, 8 inches wide. Okay, we're making some good progress here. This isn't going to be too bad. Door styles. All right, so let's go to the door. So we already said this drawer front's going to be 8. We knew the whole height and the toe kick is down here, is 31. 31 minus 8 is 23, if my basic math is correct. So the door stiles are going to sit in there. So they are going to be 23 inches long. Door stiles, 23 inches, and the width. I'm going to make this because I want to make this particular cabinet as store buyable as possible, so you don't need a joiner or any of that stuff. So I'm going to make this a stock width, and let's go with a 1x3, which is actually 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches wide. Door rails will also be 2.5 inches wide. All right, just makes that easier. The door rail length. Now the door rail length, we are going to need a little machining. This door rail is not going to be, let's kind of do an x-ray of a door here. So for a door, you're going to have your two stiles, one here, you're going to have one here. And regardless of whether this is a shaker door or a raised panel, and you're going to have our two rails. Now we just said, just so you know, there's going to be two of these, right? They're going to be right up on each other, right? So the other one would be here. So when we come up with the length of the rails, we'll need to factor in the fact that there's two doors. So we'll take the overall width, which is 30 inches. We'll subtract out 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, and 2.5, which is over here, okay? And that's 5, and 2.5, 2.5, that's 20 inches, okay? So we have 20 here. Between these two, so these are each 10 inches, okay? Okay, great, 10 inches. Yeah, but that doesn't include the joint. So the joint here is actually going to go in, so again, let's zoom in here. All right, let's take a quick x-ray into one of these doors. So the door rail is actually going to go into that stile. We're going to have a tongue stick in there, and it provides an effective joint. So when we build our rails and we're designing this, we have to account for that extra length here and here. So these are 2.5 inches wide, these stiles. This board is 2.5 inches wide. So what's a good rule of thumb? Well, you can do half of the width of this, which would be 1.25 inches. I'm just going to stick with something easier, like 3/4 of an inch. We'll say that length there. So if I'm going to take my rail length, which is going to be 10 inches, all right, we just came up with that. Then I'm going to add 3/4 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch, so another 1.5 inches. So our rail length for this is going to be 11.5 inches. Okay, 11.5 inches. So for the door center panel, let's go back to our door, and we'll have our stile, and we'll have our rails. Okay, these are our stiles and our rails. So these are 10 inches from here to here. This is 23. All right, so the door center panel is going to sit in a groove that is in both the rails and in the stiles. So it's going to be back a little bit, so we can make that depth whatever we want. Let's just say rule of thumb, 1/4 inch on both sides. So 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch here. That's a 1/2 inch to this, so that door center panel is 10.5 inches down here. Then a 1/4 inch down here, 1/4 inch up there, another 1/2 inch to this. So the door panel is 10.5 by 23.5 inches. So we can go ahead and add this to our giant table of parts. 23.5 and then 10.5. Okay, just wanted to correct something really quick. This is a little addendum to this video. When I was going over the center panel, I mentioned that these would be 10 inches long and 3/4 and 3/4. So this would be 11.5 inches. But I messed up this measurement. So 23 inches is here to here, and I added to it, so it would actually make it out here. We actually want to bring it in 2.5 and 2.5. Okay, we want to bring this in 5 inches, so this would be 18 inches. And then I want to add on 1/4 and 1/4, so this would be 18.5 inches for this. Okay, so 18.5, 11.5, my bad, but that's why these checks, it's helpful to run through this. All right, the shelf is a little easier to do. This is the last part we'll discuss until we get into drawers. We're also going to do a top cabinet, and we'll just run through those parts real quick. So the shelf, let's do a side view of this cabinet here. We'll just do the box, and then the toe kick would be down here, right? And then the door front's out here, door's out here. We got a 1 inch line that goes this way, and our box is down there, our bottom is down there. Our shelf for bottoms, usually they don't go the full width here. They usually just go out a little bit, and we'll just give it 12 inches. This is, I can be arbitrary with this. So for the shelf, we'll say 12 inches wide. And for the length, it's going to sit inside the cabinet. So if we're looking at the front of this, this is our side, this is our other side, and our bottom's down here. Our shelf is going to sit right in there, and it's not going to be the same length as the bottom because this is actually, pocket screwed in there. It's going to be touching. This one we want to have a little slack on either side, and I would say you can do an 1/8 inch on each side or a 1/16 on each side. I like an 1/8 inch on each side, gives you a little bit of wiggle room. So that's a 1/4 inch shorter than the bottom length. So we come back to our table, and bottom length is 20.5, and we said a 1/4 inch, so we do 28.25. Okay, so those are all the parts we need, at least out of lumber or plywood. All this stuff's going to be, let's see, the sides, bottom, back, stretchers are going to be plywood. Our drawer front is going to be hardwood, 1 piece of hardwood, or 4 pieces of hardwood and 1 center panel. We'll probably just make a slab out of this just for simplicity. Door rails will be hardwood. Our door center panel will be plywood or a glue up together of other hardwood boards. And our shelf will be plywood. And we will have to glue on a piece of thin veneer to hide the plywood edge. But that's all for this one. The other cabinet we're going to build as part of this first mini project will be a top cabinet. And let me just run through what that design looks like. I will have a breakdown of those parts as well below in the lesson notes for this. And the top is going to match this one in terms of style exactly. It's going to be a frameless door. And I'll just give you some overall dimensions. It's going to have so remember top cabinets have both a top board and a bottom piece. And okay, so it'll look like that. Draw this a little isometrically here. It will have one big door on it, okay? That'll cover this entire opening. And overall width for these are 12. And I think we're making the width of the cabinet, that's right, 18 inches. So this whole width here, 18 inches. And we'll make the height 36 inches. Okay, I'll let you come up with the other parts for the inside guts of this stuff, but it's going to be the exact same as the bottom in terms of how it was put together. Okay, these boards are here, and these will be pocket screwed in. Bottom will be pocket screwed in. We'll have a back that sits off a little bit. So that's the top cabinet we're going to build. So the next step here is going to be to take these parts we came up with in our table. And we did this, again, we just did this in some scrap paper. Take these parts, put them in a spreadsheet. Or you can keep them like this if you want to. If you prefer working with your own handwritten notes, that's fine. We're going to go ahead and put this in a spreadsheet. At least I will put this in a spreadsheet, and then we're going to come up with a complete parts list. Well, this is mostly the parts list, but a cut list, and from the cut list, a shopping list. What do we need to buy from this? And then the cut list will be what parts, how many sheets of plywood do I need to buy? How many board feet of lumber do I need to buy? Once we have that shopping list and material and the cut list, we have everything together, we can go shop and look for lumber and figure out where we're going to get and source our material. All right, that's it for this lesson.